Vi vil ikke sende flygtninge tilbage til et land, vi ikke tør åbne ambassader i. Vi køber ikke løgne som borgere, for vi giver igen nu.
32,000 refugees fleeing the Syrian civil war ended up here in Denmark. Now it's the first country in Europe that wants to send them back to Syria.
At det er farligt i Syrien, det er virkeligheden. Stop nu. Virkeligheden.
Already, 380 Syrians have lost their asylum status. What happened that made you and all these other people come here today?
In the 31 of March, we got a letter that we can't have any more residents here in Denmark. We are not allowed to be here anymore, and Danish government won't renew our residence.
I think that Damascus is safe now to go back there.
Do you think Damascus or anywhere else in Syria is a safe place for people like you these days?
No, it's my country. If I know that it's safe, I will take my children and go back. But I know that it's not safe to them to go back to Syria.
The Bashurs are appealing the loss of their status, in part because it could also mean they'll be split up. Jude, like many young Syrian men, will likely be able to stay in Denmark, because if he's sent back, he'll be forced into the military.
I don't want to stay here without my family, because if I'm staying here and my family came back to Syria, they're getting killed.
In 2015, the Bashurs were a few of the more than 1 million refugees who sought asylum in the EU.
She is in the kitchen.
They traveled from Turkey, through the Balkans, and into Northern Europe. Can we come say hello?
Yeah.
How's it going? After 6 years working, studying, and learning Danish, they feel like Denmark is home. You came to Denmark for stability and safety, like you said. Do you feel like those things, you no longer have those things?
لأنه مثل ما بتكون قاعد ببيتك بسوريا، كنا قاعدين كان عنا عطلة تاني يوم وإجت سيارة مفخخة وفجرت كل شيء. وناس عم بتولول وبواب اتفتحت ونفس الشيء، يعني نحن ما حنقول بومب صار، بس فعلا هي الخبر اجا مثل نفس الشيء. كل شيء انت عمرته، كل شيء ساويته، كل شيء بنيته، حتى ان شاء الله ب3 سنين ببلد غريب مو سهل انه يجي الواحد ويفجره هيك. صعبة.
Do you regret coming here to Denmark?
Yeah. Because of my children, not because of me. Because I think that I destroyed their future when I choose to stay here.
The Danish government is justifying the potential deportations with a report put out by the country's immigration office. It declares that Damascus and the surrounding areas are safe. One of the experts interviewed for the report was Sara Kayali from Human Rights Watch. Did they ask you if Damascus is safe?
No.
Do you think then that you were misled by the Danish immigration services?
Absolutely. I think that our testimonies were used for conclusions that really appear to be pre-cooked, that are designed to deal with the domestic political situation in Denmark and have very little relation to the reality on the ground in Syria.
Kayali was one of 12 experts cited in the report. 11 of them have now publicly rejected its conclusion.
Damascus isn't safe for refugees returning there because the underlying reasons for which they fled remain the same. The risk of arbitrary detention, of being detained, of being tortured at a checkpoint, at the airport upon return, of being killed is really still exactly the same.
Anti-immigration sentiment has risen in Denmark in recent years, and with it has come anti-migrant policies. Laws have made family unification harder, asylum status more temporary, and allowed for the seizure of refugees' valuables, like jewelry, to pay their way into the country. Successive governments have adopted these policies, including the current one, which is led by the left-wing Social Democrats. We're here in the Danish parliament, where we're looking for members of the governing Social Democrat Party to ask them about their migration policy. We've made a number of official requests with them, and so far no one has agreed to do an interview with us. So what we're trying to do is catch one of these top officials as they move around this building in between meetings today. Spearheading the government's plan is Immigration Minister Mattias Tesfaye. He says his target number of asylum seekers in Denmark is 0. Hi, Minister Tesfaye. I'm Matthew Castle from Vice News. I'd just like to ask you a question. Do you have a minute just to talk to us? We've tried to make an appointment with your office. We just want to know, why is Denmark the only country in Europe that wants to send Syrians back to Syria?
Sorry, I can't make an interview like this.
Why are you the only country that wants to send Syrians back to Syria?
Sorry, but it can't work like this. I'm sorry.
While no social democrats were prepared to defend their policies, we did find someone who would. A member of the far-right Danish People's Party, who's been pushing for some of the harshest anti-refugee, anti-Muslim policies in Denmark. So do you see Prime Minister Frederiksen, Immigration Minister Tesfaye as allies now,
Yes,
even though they're
in
from
that
the
battle.
left?
Yes, in that battle, stopping Muslim migration into Denmark, stopping Islamization of the Danish society.
But you've had migration, refugees coming to countries like Denmark. They have successfully integrated. They're
Yeah, but
living,
we've never had Muslims before.
but now you have Muslims.
Yeah,
They are
and
living side by side, Christian, Danes, and others.
No, they're not.
You can see it here in Copenhagen.
No, a big majority lives completely differently. And that is the problem. And the reason why everybody adopts our politics now is that they can see it themselves.
But Denmark's plan isn't even feasible because it doesn't have diplomatic ties with Syria, meaning it can't actually force people to go back. But what they can do is place them indefinitely in detention centers. One such center is Ellebæk, which a European Human Rights Committee has said is, quote, unacceptable for people. Refugees like Tulip worry those centers are where they'll end up.
Yes, der. Og så skriver du telefonen. Eller e-mail.
How are you guys going to feel if in a few weeks from now, a few months from now maybe, you come back to class and Tulip's no longer there?
أنا رح أكون حزينة كل الصبح حزين لأنه هي ما كملت عنا وإن شاء الله ما رح يصير هذا الشيء.
It would be cruel. It would be very cruel seeing her gone and also happening to other people. I mean, you can't just go on living like this, right? With people getting sent home even though they live here, it's their home, right?
Tulip's future depends on a residency appeal. If it's denied, she says her only option will be to leave Denmark. So is that something you're thinking you might have to do if you don't win this legal battle, is you might have to go to another European country and apply for asylum there?
Yes, and unfortunately I know that it's going to be hard for me, but I think it's going to be less harder than traveling back to Syria, because I'm sure that I will be alive and not arrested or killed by the Syrian government. I can't expect anything, but I feel so bad and terrible because I know that the decision that they're going to take, it's going to change my destiny. So this is what I'm afraid of.
Can you explain what's happening right now and why the government is wanting to send some Syrian asylum seekers here in Denmark back to Syria?
There has been a huge discussion on the European level. What should we do with refugees who are seeking asylum in Europe? And now Denmark has somehow taken the lead, saying by being the worst country in all of Europe, we will make sure that the asylum seekers are not choosing Denmark, that they will choose any other European country than Denmark.
What about the legality of all of it?
The critical discussion in each and every one of these cases, would there be a risk of persecution on arrival in Damascus? And that is what we would argue in all of these cases, that already the fact that you have been a person who left Syria during this conflict proves to the government in Damascus that you are a traitor, that you're in favor of the opposition. If you have wanted to support the government, you have stayed.
What's the process that it's doing to send Syrians back to Syria?
No one is going to be forced back to Syria. That is not possible since there's no cooperation with the government in Syria. So the only reason you are doing this, the only logical reason, is to take these people to camps, allow them to live, eat, but not work, not study, not do anything. And while they are in this limbo, you can show to other asylum seekers, stay out.